Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about the New Year Rag Machine that is coming to North America this coming Monday. So, the New Year's Rag Machine is one of the older seasonal events in Puzzle & Dragons, and unfortunately, it has really just fallen so far behind due to the fact of power creep, and also that Gung-Ho does not tend to buff the older cards. Upon their initial release, the bottom rarity cards were okay, but then every single year they just kept getting worse and worse because better and better cards have been released, to the point where it's hard to truly justify rolling in this event because so many of the cards are just lacking overall. Now, obviously the decision of whether or not to roll comes down to your own personal preference. How much do you like the artwork? Do you think these cards are cool? And whatever your own goals are for Puzzle & Dragons. So just take everything I say with a grain of salt because everyone's needs are different. So the New Year's Rag Machine has numerous high rarity cards, but unfortunately you are going to be rolling, probably the vast majority of the rolls are going to be at the very bottom here. And unfortunately as well, the event is stacked in a strange looking Christmas tree here. Like, most of the cards are kind of lackluster, including many of the 7-star cards. So there is not too much to really roll for. Like, yes, the 8-star cards do have some value, but again, how much value are they actually going to be bringing to your own monster box? Now, the order of in each tier is random and is not reflective of their ranking. Furthermore, if it is the very first time you actually acquire a card, you should keep it just in case on the off chance they receive significant buffs in the future. So, limit breaking is the process of leveling cards beyond level 99. And cards that qualify for limit break will have their level max text in blue instead of yellow. You can read more about those super awakenings which are unlocked after you limit break through that article there. Next are weapon assists. This is completely irrelevant for this collab, but I just kind of like having all this information present during my collab reviews. So, the first card is New Year's Yomi, who did receive quite sizable buffs to her active skill, leader skill, and awakenings. So, her active skill is now able to enhance all orbs, which was normal, but now you are able to reduce awoken binds by 3 turns, as well as giving yourself 3 turns of plus 5 seconds orb movement time. So not only is she now like a time buffing as well as minor damage boosting sub, she also can clear 3 turns of awoken binds. Now, 3 turns is not obviously game breaking, but it is now an additional layer of utility that Yomi can enjoy. So when playing through hard and endgame content, which is riddled with these awoken binds, Yomi might become a significantly more desirable active skill to bring along. Her leader skill has been buffed, but the main problem is it is still a 5-orb 1 enhanced leader. And yes, she does cap out at a massive 324 times with 43.75% reduction, but you have to match exactly 5 connected orbs in an L, a T, a line, whatever you want. But one of those has to be enhanced. And the problem is only the matched element receives the damage bonus. If you match a purple sparkle, only purple damage is boosted, not everyone's damage. So this is a significant downgrade compared to other match 5 leaders like Madhu. So that is going to be the biggest issue and hurdle for using New Year's Yomi as a leader, that you have to have 5 of your specific color, and ideally all your cards are similar color. Otherwise, you're just not dealing enough damage overall. In addition to that, they now have this L Unlock Awakening. And the L Unlock Awakening has become one of the most valuable utility awakenings in the game. And the reason for that is because it obviously boosts damage still, but it now unlocks orbs, which is normal, but now it can unlock or basically erase locked skyfalls. So there are some encounters where they will make it so that locked orbs fall down for X number of turns. Matching an L completely cancels that out. Now, while we do have many orb unlocking style active skills already, it doesn't hurt to have the fact that you are able to basically counteract that without actually needing to use an active skill. So it's just saving yourself more value overall. So again, New Year's Yomi has become a significantly stronger card, but the problem is she is still lacking in some ways. Well, in terms of the pros, I've mentioned most of those, but the time extend gives you 2 bonus seconds of orb movement time, which is definitely invaluable in Dark Metatron teams who tend to be lacking. It can also be kind of like a pseudo or a soft awoken bind clearer. But the problem is with New Year's Yomi is that you only gain bind immunity with your super awakenings. And that is obviously problematic if you play co-op lots, so that is going to be a bit lackluster. And her weighted stats for an 8-star card are actually quite are on the lower side. She only has 1,100 weighted stats at level 110, which is definitely a little lower. My hope was that it'd be around maybe like 1,200-ish or so in comparison to other cards at this rarity level. But her stat distribution is relatively balanced because she is a balanced typing, can use any latent you want. So overall, a very powerful sub-dome that just became significantly stronger with the but various buffs she received. Next is New Year's Canna, and Canna is almost a meme in terms of how useful she is. She is not useful, unfortunately. She doesn't really do much of anything, unfortunately. Like, her active skill is 2 turns of 2 times burst for God Dragon types, 1 turn haste. Well, 2 times is not that much. Is it really going to make that much of a difference? Probably not. It's not going to be the burst style active skill you want to inherit on cards. And in terms of bringing her as a sub, she has 4 or 5 TPAs, which does give her sizable personal damage, with combined to the fact that she does have high weighted attack. But the thing is, what teams are really going to be able to utilize this card on? Her active skill is mediocre at best, so it's really hard to justify using her, and that's just kind of the state of where Canna is, even the rare machine form. And as a leader, it's basically a weaker Heartcross form compared to the farmable Light Mirror, so she doesn't really fulfill any true role or niche at this point in time, and it's just an unfortunate card to roll at this point. Next is New Year's Cami. And New Year's Cami allows you to change the bottom row to heal, recover 30% of max HP, and then reduce binds by 3. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is only just regular binds, not awoken binds, so that obviously is a bit of a drawback because most things are bind immune at this point in time. Her leader skill is basically the same as her rare machine equivalent, except that you have to match fire and light orbs. So she does able to achieve 306 times attack with basically just 2 combos, which is pretty outrageous overall in all honesty. So it does allow her to sweep a lot of easy content or farm content very quickly, but the problem is because she has to match light and she has to match fire, it does constrict the type of board changes you can use. Furthermore, something like Yogg, who basically has a similar style multiplier, because basically matching 2 specific combos, only has to match light, so he has much more options for board change options available compared to Cami, so it is a bit of a drawback. Cami's awakenings are nowhere near as strong. Rose add a little bit of damage, but nothing truly amazing. Super follow-up attack is basically completely inferior to regular follow-up attack. There's no real reason to use it because it's 9 orbs versus 5. And another thing to keep in mind of New Year's Cami is that her leader skill is an active health clause. If you're above 80%, you receive the full multiplier, but even when you're below 80%, you still have 110 times attack, which is quite reasonable. Furthermore, you do have 9 times recovery when low health, so you're able to basically heal back up to your threshold all the time, and the damage reduction takes effect when light and fire orbs are present. So if you're playing through certain content, it's a little easier to play Cami compared to Yogg because most given boards will almost always have fire and light orbs present, whereas 2 sets of light are much more inconsistent. But for farming purposes, I would place Yogg more valuable because he comes with basically any board changer can be utilized. He has a much stronger active skill, and Yogg has the equivalent of Light Vaj, who is basically able to solve all resolve spawns because they have a follow-up attack or follow-up damage after matching orbs. So it's just a little few things that are making her a little weaker, but still a reasonably strong card overall. Can be used for more traditional style gameplay by comparison. And next is New Year's Artemis, who is a new card, and she's the strongest card of this collab in my opinion, or seasonal event in my opinion. So her active skill is for 1 turn. You basically have a Fujin style active skill. You basically void damage absorb shields. So Sopdet, Vishnu, Parvati, all those get cancelled out for 1 turn, so you can kill them like normal, and then change fire to wood orbs. So useful obviously on wood based teams. So quite a powerful active skill because to a certain extent we have become dependent on using Fujins for playing through those types of spawns. Her active skill is actually quite exciting as well. You have 2 times health for wood cards, and then 3 times attack and 1.5 times RCV when matching 4 or more combos. It's almost impossible not to make 4 or more combos, so you're going to be happy there. And then you get an additional 4 times attack when matching 4 or more connected wood orbs. So you want to always match those 4 connected wood orbs to tap into her 3 or 4 TPAs through Super Awakenings. So generally speaking, TPAs tend to be an inferior damage awakening compared to 7 combo. But in the context of New Year's Artemis, it's not actually a liability because you have to match a minimum of 4 Wood Orbs. So you're going to be matching those anyway. So it's not as big of a drawback by comparison, because if it were to nerf your combo count, well, you have to do it anyways because you need to hit the 4 Wood Orbs connected in order to actually trigger your full multiplier. So this is the reason why TPA tends to be less valuable, but on Artemis, it's not as big of a drawback. Now, with this 2 times health, basically it's 4 times health with dual leaders, you are able to tank basically any preemptive in the game, which is a big deal because now you don't have to budget an active skill to basically surviving these large attacks. You can just naturally tank them. So that is one of the shining aspects of New Year's Artemis, and is why the meta has greatly shifted towards these super tanky leaders. You save yourself active skill slots in case you accidentally kill a spawn or what have you. So it does make your life significantly easier. Furthermore, New Year's Artemis also comes with a built-in 2.25 times recovery when matching 4 or more combos, which you always will. So you have 2.25 times health healing, so you don't necessarily have to rely on like the Curio looping system. You don't have to rely on enhanced heal orbs being present. It's just a little bit easier to play her overall. So it's just definitely giving you a bit of an edge compared to like just pure 4 times health leaders. Now, of course, New Year's Artemis is not without faults. Having 144 times attacks is definitely a bit on the lower end. It's still definitely workable, but it can make certain encounters a little more challenging. And at this point in time, now that we have the brand new arenas being released, 4 times health teams are vulnerable not just to gravities, which they always have been, but they're vulnerable to the movesets that include gravity, then a hit right after. Because it doesn't matter how much health you had, if you get 99% gravity and then a hit subsequently afterwards, you will die. And that is a problem. So New Year's Artemis teams might require a shield through Alt Arena 2 or Arena 5. Like, it's just a little bit of a drawback, and that's one of the reasons why Dark Metatron is such a strong leader, because she has the survivability and the damage reduction on top of that. So this is not to say New Year's Artemis is weak by any means. She's still a powerful card, but you just have to keep in mind that this is what's probably one of the main things that are holding her back. Now, in terms of her other benefits going for her, she can use any wood card for team building. So you can tap into Zila, you can use Michael, you can use Odin Dragon, Ragnarok Dragon. You have tons of options. So it does greatly ease team building requirements, and you don't necessarily have to have super rare cards to succeed. You can basically get by with quite a few different Pantheon cards that have 7 combo or TPA, and you will actually do fairly well overall. Furthermore, having that Fusion style active skill means certain encounters are significantly less dangerous. Playing through Arena 3 will definitely be a breeze because you have 2 leaders with Fujin. But then in that same breath, you do run into the issue of having 2 active skills with a 20-turn cooldown, which you may or may not necessarily need. So most dungeons often require 1 Fujin-style active skill, but it's rare that you need 2 for a certain dungeon. So if you have a 20-turn cooldown, and I have no idea why it's wonky like that, but if you have a 20-turn cooldown on both your leaders, you are somewhat restricting yourself in terms of the active skills you can bring in the dungeons. So just keep that in mind as that being a small bit of a drawback. And now we're going to start going downhill because we enter the 7-star card territory. So the first one is New Year's Horus. So New Year's Horus basically can come with 4 skill boosts through Super Awakenings, but we have so many other skill boost heavy cards available that it's basically like, do you need the fire or light typing or the god attacker typing to really justify it? But we have Orpharians, we have Tengus, we have Whale Doors. There's so many different things available. Maybe you can think, oh, well, I can use the co-op boost. But again, if you use the co-op boost, it means you're playing co-op, you don't get Super Awakening. So New Year's Horus is just not really in that great of a place at this point in time. Perhaps they can fit as a budget option on Shiro teams, because a lot of players did roll in the Fate collab. They might be having him and don't have necessarily the subs to actually populate a team. So this can be a budget option. New Year's Yamato, again, falls kind of into a similar territory. It can be a budget Shiro sub. They do naturally come with 3 skill boosts, co-op boost awakening, and a dragon killer. But outside of the dragon killer, he does not actually have any offensive awakening. So it's just going to be a sub that sits on your team. Not necessarily the greatest thing. His active skill might definitely prove useful. You change wood to fire and then dark to heal and enhance all heal orbs. So this definitely can give you a huge amount of healing output, as well as some additional fire orbs for dealing damage. But as a whole, New Year's Yamato is not really doing much. It's kind of like the Reg Machine equivalent, which does not see much use at this point in time. Next is New Year's Kepri. Her active skill gives you +2 combo count for 1 turn, and then you also get +2 seconds of orb movement time for a single turn. So this is a combo count active skill that does not disrupt your board, so that may have certain applications. Giving you the time buffing can definitely ensure you hit that VDP match or whatever special pattern you're trying to form. But for the most part, it's a very niche and situational active skill. You don't really plan to actually use her for most content because she just really comes with time extends and some team health. She's not going to be providing any damage for the team. The active skill is situational. Hard to justify using this card outside of the inheritance option, in my opinion. And then next is New Year's Ganesha, which is the second of 2 new cards this time around. So active skill reduces all damage taken by 100% and deal 150,000 damage to an enemy 3 times. So you can slide under Sopdet, but like King Bradley, 3 times 150 is 450,000 is nowhere near enough to actually make a difference, in all honesty. So you're basically thinking, can I use this 100% damage reduction shield? So it's very rare we actually need to use this type of damage reduction shield. Like, you should be killing things. You can tank preemptives with regular shields, so you're paying quite a large cooldown of 15 turns for only 1 turn of safety. May or may not necessarily be the best thing out there. But it's their leader skill that makes them quite exciting, as well as awakenings. So their leader skill is 4 times coin drop rate, and then 4 times attack when hitting 5 or more combos. So you do have a small damage multiplier, unlike regular Ganesha, which might give a bit of an edge when playing through easier content. And 4 times coin drop rate is significantly higher than Ganesha, who only has 1.5 times. So if you need to farm coins, this New Year's Ganesha is going to make you incredibly rich, especially if you pair with a friend. You have 16 times coin drops. That's a little ridiculous. But the problem is, we don't use coins that often. If you're a player who's been playing for a modestly long period of time, you probably have racked up millions upon millions of coins and nowhere to really spend them on. So I honestly see this card only truly helping players who are newer to the game, who haven't actually been playing long enough to rack up coins, and they're changing inherits or fusing monsters even. So could help there, but for players like myself, who's like probably 500 or 600 million coins without even trying, it's not going to have much value overall. So now we look at them as a sub. So as a sub, they have 3 skill boosts and 2 7 combos. So nothing special, because light is arguably the most saturated color with strong 7 combo awakening cards. So Ganesha's not necessarily standing out. So it's going to be their 3 skill boosts that kind of gives them a bit of an edge. So I guess in certain content where you need to have the extra skill boost to have certain actives up in time, it can be situationally helpful. It's 1 more skill boost than Tachibana, 2 more than Cotton. Can make a bit of a difference. But again, for the 15 turn cooldown, it may not necessarily help you out that much overall. And now we come to 6 stars, and we're just going even further downhill. New Year's Lanlan is basically the regular red machine Lanlan of firewood light orbs, so not like a generic board changer with no extra effects. Can be good if you're interested in speed or as a budget ranking dungeon board changer, but other than that, New Year's Lanlan doesn't bring anything to the table. Like, she has orb enhances, cool, but with 749 weighted stats, can we really justify using them as a sub when so many cards nowadays are coming out with 1,000+ weighted stats? Like, if you think about it, Godfest nowadays are pooping out awoken or even reincarnated cards. I think maybe, I don't know if they go to reincarnated yet. But the point of the matter is, you're pooping out cards with like 1,000 weighted stats with max level plus 297 already. So collab cards or seasonal cards that come out at level 1 with nothing else and low weighted stats are truly hard to actually justify using. And New Year's Lanlan basically just lands in that category. Another drawback of her active skill is that it does not produce hard orbs. And hard orbs are obviously invaluable because you can heal while dealing damage, and you can actually form follow-up attack or the column of hard orbs in order to execute resolve spawns. So those type of board changers tend to be more powerful overall. Next is New Year's Ame no Uzume, and she actually received quite a sizable buff overall. She is able to remove all bind and awoken bind skills and then deal 100,000 damage to an enemy 5 times. The 100,000 damage is not that important. It's the awoken and it's the full Awoken and full Bind Clear that's actually quite sexy because she is inheritable. And at this point in time, there's only Joyra, I believe, in North America that can have this type of full bind clearing potential as an inherit. So we do have Odin Dragon, but you can't inherit an Odin Dragon, and you may not necessarily want to use Odin Dragon every dungeon. So inheriting Ami across your various colored teams that want to use it can be invaluable. Again, we're going to come back to the Shiro argument again, how she can even fit as a sub on him, but you can utilize her active skill as a full bind and Awoken bind clear while also being an inheritable card. So it does open up lots of options and possibilities overall. Furthermore, she has 2 co-op boost awakenings, which does give her 2.25 times stats when used in co-op, which is used as a button base. But unfortunately, her actual attack stat is somewhat low, and now we have so many new, like even single or double co-op boost awakening cards that have higher effective attack damage, which makes them stronger button bases. So New Year's Ami no Izumi is still an amazing inherit, possibly a niche sub in certain situations, but she's just not as amazing as she was when she was first released because we now have other options to compete against. And now we come into the 5-star territory. New Year's Spica changes the far column into left, no, sorry, the left column into light, the right column into wood. So double column making, which is useful for certain speed farming builds that have connect 5 match leaders, because you can basically solve 2 floors with 1 active skill. But the problem is, it's really niche and situational where you actually want to use it. But again, double column making is somewhat rare. So players who do pursue that type of playstyle are definitely going to find merit in New Year's Spica. But for the average player, it's not going to have much practical applications. Next is New Year's Mitsuki, which is pretty much garbage. Like, she's just a box cheerleader. She's not even that pretty. I can't really foresee a real use of her, in all honesty. Floods the board of hard orbs. We don't use Xiangmei, and she was even a bad sub for Xiangmei at that point in time. So, yeah, we'll pretend she doesn't exist. Oh, look, we come to Hanzo, another terrible card. New Year's Hanzo has a single Dragon Killer, which does nothing, in all honesty. Like, in this day and age, 1 Dragon Killer is nothing. Like, a single 7 combo card has more universally effective damage instead of being effective against 1 spawn. We want at least 2, ideally 3 killers of the same type to be really effective. His active skill changes fire to light. Yeah, just not a thing. I spent more time doing this part than actually writing about him. Now we come to Jaune de Shit. Again, another pretty horrible card. Maybe you can argue that you can meme it up with 6 auto heal awakenings, but in all honesty, where are we going to really utilize these auto heal awakenings? Cheese style teams don't need to rely on that. They have enough damage reduction anyways. So yeah, I can't foresee really a usage for her at this point in time either. And then lastly, and not quite least, is New Year's Tengu. New Year's Tengu is basically a color swapped version of the farmable card, except that he has a light instead of dark sub-attribute. So that can help you with rainbow color coverage if needed for a dungeon. It can help for no duplicates, but at this point in time, we do have many skill boost farmable cards. We have Orpharians, we have Whale Doors, we have farmable Tengu. So New Year's Tengu is not that special at this point in time whatsoever. Like, you have a completely farmable alternative. And in all honesty, like, a lot of people now have Orpharians, which will cover the light. You can have regular Tengu to cover green and dark, so you do have your colors covered. Whale Door for blue as well. So, like, New Year's Tengu is doing nothing special, but the one thing I do want to mention is that with New Year's Tengu, or just Tengu in general, you have a 4-turn base active skill, which can make it possibly easier to inherit certain active skills up for certain builds. So, Orpharian has, I think, a 5 or 6, and Whale Door is around the same amount. Basically, they have higher base cooldowns compared to Tengu, so it might make a small difference overall, but again, we do have farmable options available. So, in conclusion, the New Year's Rag Machine is mediocre to average overall. Like, we do have prizes definitely at the top rarity, and only New Year's Artemis would be the card I would consider even trading in for, but then again, I may not necessarily encourage that unless you're truly lacking any strong leader, you have good wood subs, and you're lacking a Fujin style active skill. That might be the best justification for actually trading in for her. Otherwise, you may not necessarily have as much value out of her if you have things already like, say, like Yusuke, Dark Metatron, Beach Barber, and Julie, like strong leaders currently available. You may not necessarily need to have Artemis in your monster box. So let me know what you think about the New Year's Reg Machine in the comments below. Hopefully you'll have a fantastic day. I wish you all the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.